All right, Master YouTube Live. We're going to be talking about between Big Con, the beef between Crowder and Daily Wire. This is the most fascinating thing I've seen come out of conservative politics in this entire ecosystem, possibly ever. Zach's a big fan of Crowder.
I'm not a big fan of Crowder. I never was a big fan of Crowder.
It's okay.
Don't do me like that.
Just go with the flow.
Okay,
right?
I'm a big fan of Crowder.
Go with the flow. Local recording stop because, okay, that's fine. We ran out of disk space. Big fan of Daily Wire.
I aspire. I love the Daily Wire business model. I enjoy the dogmatics of a Matt Walsh.
Okay.
Every now and then,
big. So you are a Daily Wire fan. Okay. So Daily Wire, one of the biggest conservative outlets online. The reason why we're talking about this is because both of these platforms use the model we use. Okay. Specifically with YouTube Live, video podcasts. Go live 4 or 5 times a week, chop them into clips, chop them and put them on different platforms, so on and so forth. What people don't know is the money involved in these operations. And so this entire back and forth was sparked by Crowder. And then when the money amount was revealed in this entire space, it blew my mind what they were actually playing with and what was considered a bad deal when you actually look at the revenues coming in. So we're going to look at Crowder's video. It's called It's Time to Stop. And if you watch this stream to the very, very, very end, there's going to be a very practical element that I think is a cautionary tale for all creators that Zach pointed out that may be some of the undergirding of some of these tensions we're seeing. So let's look at David Crowder's kind of shots fired. Steven Crowder. David Crowder's the worship guy. Steven Crowder's shots fired at, he didn't name names initially. He shot some subliminal disses. We don't really respect this in rap battles, but nevertheless, that's what he presented. And then we're going to see the response from Daily Wire when they revealed the actual terms of the contract, which is mind-blowing. Okay, go ahead and play it.
But for the first time, I have to say that I believe many of those in charge in the right-leaning media are actually at odds with what's best for you, the viewer, the customer, and more importantly, the country. We here at Mug Club, we thought that we were all in this together, that we were fighting.
That's a huge accusation.
That's a huge accusation.
He's basically saying that people in the conservative media, which they're all fighting the good fight, are in cahoots with big tech. That's what he's hurling at.
Yep. The biggest players in right-wing media is what he said.
It's a big deal.
Woo. So the media, entertainment, industrial complex. We thought that we were all genuinely taking it to big tech. But too many of those in charge of the big conservative platforms are verifiably in bed with them.
That's a big accusation.
Verifiably.
Because the branding around this community is the left hates you, big tech hates you, therefore become a premium subscriber with us.
Yep.
That's a majority of what the Daily Wire kind of language is, and it works.
You guys think I'm stupid. Yeah. I'm not stupid, guys. I know
it works. It works very well. So he's using this language now at his own comrades.
Yep.
Right? Against... He doesn't name names, but then Daily Wire comes out and explains what happened. Let's go.
Absolutely. Do you want to skip to the next time?
Is there anything from this clip that needs to be addressed?
Well, then this is his take on the documents.
Okay, let's play. This is Crowder's take on the particulars of the contract that was presented to him. He's still not naming names. Go ahead.
There are more than you would probably assume. So I went into free agency. I looked over the offers. And I saw the clause come out. And I don't just mean unreasonable demands for control, but what I would argue are immoral terms that actually punish conservative content creators on behalf of big tech.
Again, another massive accusation.
Yes.
Right? Not only are they punishing conservative creators, but they're also in cahoots with big tech. Go ahead.
And that's something that I just couldn't unsee. And I want to let you know, it's not the exception. It's the rule. Kids out there. Coming up, we need to build a bench here in this movement. It's almost impossible. Don't sign these contracts. I now know what you are signing out there. I have the luxury of not having to. I don't have to be here. I don't have to say this. Please, don't sign this. Certainly not without professional legal.
So that is what he's holding is the Daily Wire contract, where at this point in the video, he doesn't let that known.
Yeah, we don't know this is Daily Wire.
But he's saying this is an ambiguous contract.
Counsel representation. Do not sign something that includes, let me go through this. Effectively, full ownership of all your social media platforms, channels, in perpetuity, the rights to your content, name, image, likeness, even the ones that you've built. Don't sign contracts out there that include multi-million-dollar penalties for different. Let me read you an example of what I mean. And this would be if it was me. If Crowder fails to deliver a monthly content in any month or any of the quarterly content in the corner, including any and all ad reads, and by the way, all these contracts came with 3, 4, 5 ad reads per show, which would fundamentally change what this show is. Got to get those dollar bills. If I failed to do that, it would be a $250,000 reduction in fee per quarter. If, let's say, we did do everything per quarter, but annually maybe missed something, like let's say we went and did a Change My Mind instead of a daily show, which of course requires a lot more work, it'd be a separate $1 million penalty for that if you miss a single piece of content. And the amount of content required is not in line with, frankly, it's worse than Disney, it's worse than ABC, it's worse than NBC, it's worse than CBS.
Wow.
This is ownership of you and everything.
These are serious accusations.
He's just unloading a clip.
Unloading a clip, okay? And so he's upset. He's upset. And we're going to come back to that point because there's a point here. But is there anything else from here?
So basically the big claim is he goes through and he gives all these penalties. $250,000 if he doesn't do an ad read. And one of the big ones was a $100,000 penalty if he misses an upload out of his 193 uploads.
Correct.
So that was the big one. And his big claim in this video, because we can move on to the next one, is that they are in bed with big tech by saying you don't have to boycott our people. We'll do it for you.
We'll do it for you.
If they do something that gets them demonetized, we're going to penalize them.
Yes.
Yada, yada, yada.
For the ad reads.
And for YouTube monetization.
And for YouTube monetization, which his channel is not monetized.
Yes.
That's important to note. His channel hasn't been monetized in a while. So, Daily Wire co-CEO claps back. Now, we got to play this where they reveal what the amount was, because Crowder also conveniently left that out. I think you had a window in between. There we go. Let's run it.
Let's see if he mentions it.
Length. And the answer is yes, that offer did come from the Daily Wire. I'm not trying to hide that fact. I'm not ashamed of that fact. In fact, I think it's a very good offer. But I think there's a lot of sort of misconceptions about the nature of the offer, the nature of the points. I think Stephen misunderstood a lot of the points. And so the way we do here at the Daily Wire, we're just going to be incredibly transparent. You know that we like to have our members be a part of the journey. We live stream all of our company town halls, for example. We just find that sunlight sometimes is the best disinfectant. And so with that in mind, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we came to be in conversations with Stephen, how those conversations ended, and walk you just line by line through what the actual document that we sent over to him, a non-binding term sheet, what it actually said and why. First thing you should know is that I'm really miserable to be making this video. Stephen's been my friend for 10 years. I think he's maybe the most talented person working in the conservative media space. He's one of the top entertainers in the country, politics notwithstanding, a great comic voice. And
pause that now.
Come on, son.
Now.
Give him way too much credit.
You're giving this man a lot of credit, okay? He's obviously the biggest conservative YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Right? I think
is he bigger than
Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson are up there, but I think he has them by a couple 100,000 subscribers. But one of the best comics, fam.
Get out of here.
That's an L. That's an L. But he's trying to be charitable.
Yeah, he's
trying to be charitable. Guys, if you're watching this, you're enjoying this, smash that like button, please. It would help us out a ton. So he's attempting to be charitable here, but in the process, he's just kind of gassing him up. But I want to get to the point where they talk about the money, because that's the part. Yes, that's the part he leaves out, is the money, which is a pretty big amount. But then as you peel away, I can kind of see both sides. Okay. This is fascinating. And granted, like, Crowder's in a decade into this process, right?
Yep.
Using this live format, daily show, you don't really do any edits. You just go for it, right? Master YouTube Live, which is what we teach, which is what Daily Wire does, which is what Crowder does. But the amount of money here, I think, shocked a lot of people, Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So let's see if we can find that part.
With this. And so we reached out to his agent and we said, listen, we'd love to have a conversation. It's not every day that a monster talent like Stephen comes on the market. We'd be bad businessmen if we didn't engage in a conversation with him. We weren't sure at that time if there was a deal to be had. I mean, for one thing, we're friends with Glenn, we're friends with Tyler, we're friends with all the guys at the Blaze. We weren't sure that we wanted to commit to making an offer to Stephen. And Stephen's an expensive talent. I mean, he's been in the business a long time. He has an enormous fan base, and we knew that it would take a lot of doing to get him over to the Daily Wire. This at the same time that we're investing very heavily in kids entertainment content and making real television content, streaming scripted fiction like the Pendragon Cycle and Atlas Shrugged and other projects that we've taken on. Would we have the resources? We weren't sure. But again, you have to have the conversation, and we were happy to have it. So we reach out to the agent and we say that. We'd like to have a conversation with Stephen, kind of get into the details of what's he looking for, financially, what's he looking for in terms of structure, what would make his life better, what would make him happy. He's got this opportunity now to have a next chapter. What's he want that next chapter to be? And Stephen's agent candidly just wasn't interested in any aspect of that conversation. He only wanted to know about the money. He said, we're not going to have a conversation. We're not going to have some abstract talk. We're going to send us an offer. Tell us how much money you're willing to pay. And he gave us an indication of what the minimum number would have to be in order to even have a discussion with Stephen. And It's a big number. So we talked about it internally and we decided, we should.
That's an L. That definitely sets the stake. If that's true.
Yeah.
It sets like kind of the tone for the conversation when you're like, I don't care. Not to mention it's like talk to my agent.
Talk to my agent. Talk to my agent. And this is supposed to be a conversation amongst friends. Remember, they all claim to be friends for decades.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, go ahead.
Do that. We should send over an opening offer, a non-binding term sheet that takes a stab at what we think that minimum number is going to be to get the conversation started so that we can sit down with Stephen so that we can see if there's a deal that'd be good for him and good for us. And that's what we did. We put together the term sheet, we sent it over, and we asked if we could get on the phone and have a conversation with Stephen. I'm going to walk you through that document, what it says, what it doesn't say, some of how Stephen represented it. I'm sure he feels like he was being accurate, but some of the things that he said are simply not true based on the text. And Stephen's a very passionate guy. I think that he's doing his level best to stand against what he sees as an injustice, but there is no injustice in this document, as I think you'll see. And then I'll tell you what happened right after we sent the document when I finally did get on the phone with Stephen. So first, here's the document, the non-binding confidential term sheet. I'm just going to walk you through it. Full transparency. This non-binding term sheet sets forth the basic deal points of a proposed content production so that if and when the parties elect to move forward with a long-form agreement, they can move quickly.
So this is in music industry, we call this a short form. This is a short form deal. This is a deal memo. This isn't a contract. This is a deal memo that he's presenting to them.
Yeah, like he said, this is just a start conversation.
A definitive and binding agreement. That's just legalese. That means this is just a conversation starter, and we're obviously going to have a negotiation if we move forward, and a lot of these points are going to get beat up. And for those of you who've never been through a contract negotiation, well, that's how it works. When you send someone an offer, you don't send them everything that you're willing to say yes to, because there is going to be a negotiation, because agents and lawyers are going to get involved, because you can't read their mind. You don't know everything that will be important to them and everything that they'll want. You don't know even some of their sort of non-negotiable points, and so you send over a loose offer, and then they're going to beat it up a little bit. They're going to say, well, this should be higher and this should be lower. And you're going to come back and say, no, we're going to stand firm here, but we're willing to compromise there. And over time,
pause it. So I was watching a lawyer react to this yesterday, and he said, if you're friends with people, and you guys have been friends for decades, you don't go into the conversation expecting to do this dance. You go into the conversation with a good offer.
With a charitable.
I'm not playing games. We're coming in with what you think is worth. And so off the riff, he's also saying, we just go back and forth, we beat it up, we do this, we come in low, and then we go
beat it up.
Right? No, literally, I mean, he said that.
We
beat it up. And so I think even, one, the agent saying, give us a number is trash. Two, him saying we're initially lowballing him because we expect a negotiation. Why would you want to do this song and dance with lawyers with your buddy, with your friends for 10 years? In this stream, we're not going to watch all of it. He ends up revealing that the only conversation he's ever had with Susan, the CEO or whatever president of YouTube, was about why Crowder's page was demonetized. Like, this is your guy, and you're coming in with this dance that you want to do with your guy? Like, I think he's, do that, the screen just went off. I think he's doing this like industry standard nonsense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Instead of saying, hey man, let's just cut to the chase. Like, what do you want? Let's try to get you what you want, right?
To be fair, he did try to do that with the agent. The agent said, just give me an offer.
Give me an offer. Give me numbers, he said specifically.
Yeah, give me numbers.
Yeah, and so they decided that, this was the number. Now, this number is crazy, but it's not so crazy when you factor in what he could be making. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You either get to a deal or you don't get to a deal. But that's how a good faith negotiation always works. 100% of every interaction I've ever had with any talent, that's the process. And so here we go. Here was our offer. a 4-year initial term with 2-year renewal at DW's sole discretion. That just means Steven's going to work for DW for 4 years. And if it's going really well, DW can retain him for an additional 2 years. 2, the fee. Remember, this is the minimum number that we thought would get the conversation
Spit
started.
it up, Jeremy.
$50 million for the initial term, plus $25 million for the renewal term, if extended, paid in monthly installments.
Pause it.
There we go, Jeremy.
Shout out to Crowder. Shout out to Daily Wire.
Jeremy Razor's got the bandos.
Jeremy Razor's got the bandos. We're talking about serious money,
Yes.
right? We're talking about $50 million over 4 years, which comes out to 12 a year. Is that what that is? About 12 and a half a year.
This is like a mix between record, like music labels,
yes.
and athletes.
Athletes, movie stars, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the offer. $50 million over 4 years, so $12.5 million a year. Now, again, we're not going to go into the entire video because we honestly just don't have time to. But here is the caveat, though. This is the caveat. The caveat is that Crowder has to produce the show himself.
Which he said is because Crowder wants to.
So he has to produce the show himself. So it's not $12.5 million in Crowder's pocket. It's $12.5 million a year, and whatever the production cost of making the show. Which who knows does he have partners? Does he have agents? So on and so forth. So we're talking about $12.5 million. We're talking about them controlling all the potential AdSense from everything. So you're talking about Facebook. YouTube is not monetized. You're talking about Spotify podcast, Apple podcast. All the podcast stuff is generating revenue to some degree. And they control it, all the revenue that comes in. And he has to do a certain number of ad reads.
Yeah.
And he has to bring over his mug, what is it called? The Mug Club
subscribers.
The
Yeah.
Mug Club subscribers. Okay. Now, this is where it gets dicey because Daily Wire is at, or I believe, at around 300,000 annual partners. Not month.
Monthly.
They were at 300,000 people.
Yep.
They dropped What Is a Woman, and that number jumped by 700,000 to 1 million.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm sure Jordan Peterson probably brought premium subscribers. That's at $20 a person. Okay. Mug Club is between $80 and $100 a person. That's an important point to make in this conversation. Okay. Because I really can see it both ways. I can see it from Crowder's perspective, and I can see it from their perspective. But again, I'm going to come back to a point, and we're going to switch topics that is actually directly applicable to a lot of you guys who are creators, that I think is like the driving undergirding of this entire conversation between these two parties. So where are we at now in the video? You're taking me to...
Yeah, so this point, let me know if you want to watch it. This point is where he gives the defense of the $100,000 fines.
He gets into the fines. He gets into the monetization. If a video gets demonetized, if you don't want to do ad reads, yada, yada, yada.
Yep.
Okay, so let's play that part.
Same with the content strike.
Pause it. This is the most controversial part. This is the biggest accusation from Crowder, because what Crowder's saying is, you guys are in bed with big tech. I'm already demonetized on YouTube. How dare you take their side if I get demonetized? That's Crowder's argument. You guys are worse. He says worse than legacy media, worse than Disney. That's a big accusation. And so here is his response for why they would penalize him for
$100,000 for demonetization.
Of
a video,
of
not of your channel.
Yes.
Major platform, YouTube, Facebook, Apple Podcast, Spotify, issues a content strike such that Crowder's content cannot be monetized on the platform. Then again, there's this 90-day concept. And again, there's this 25% reduction. Now, Stephen, when I spoke to him, he was very upset. He said, I've already been demonetized on YouTube. That's the kind of thing in a negotiation. You scratch through that with your red pen and you say, Stephen's already been demonetized from YouTube. So
Pause it. Why would you put that in the contract if you knew that he was already demonetized on YouTube?
it's-
If you went to Susan at YouTube to fight for him, why would you even put that in the contract? You just got a sloppy lawyer? Or are you playing games? Like, what are you doing?
It's just it's sloppy. I think it's also, I wonder, I don't know. I think it's sloppy. It's like, oh, here's our standard thing. And that's what he told him. That's why Steven Crowder in the first video was like, this is standard. I know what you guys are getting. But I also wonder if they're like, oh, let's throw this in so that when we cancel this out, he feels like he's getting a deal. And it just backfired on them.
Yeah. Again, because the logic is you start on opposite extremes,
Yeah.
and then you nibble and nibble and nibble and nibble and nibble and come to the medium. That's industry
Compromise.
standard
Yeah.
compromise. And because the thinking also is, if we put a bunch of BS in there that they fight against, they'll feel like they won,
They won
and they'll have
something.
less things to actually push for in their favor.
Yep.
So he's going to put a bunch of crap in the initial memo to just make it seem like we whatever, and then the more we give up, but you're not really giving up the things that matter
want.
to them,
Yeah,
that they want. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
Can't start the deal at minus 25. You have to already have anticipated that, and that would have been fine. That's just a very common. But if he were making a significant portion of his revenue on YouTube and he lost that revenue, it's not punishing him to say you will make less. We're all going to make less. The real punishment would be if we took all the hit, continue to pay him guaranteed money, whether his show makes money or not, and then we lose the business as a result. And now no one pays Steven anything.
Yeah,
and no one releases Steven's content.
This is fair on his part.
Yeah.
We can't be the only ones who take a L if there's an L. We should be willing to take an L together.
Yes, exactly. And I think that, like, I think Steven Crowder is approaching it from a kind of a diva perspective a little bit. I'm gonna say
I think not, because Crowder is saying this isn't a joint venture. I'm not going into this getting stock in Daily Wire.
yeah.
Right? Like you want to acquire, you want to own the content. That's another thing, is the content that they make together.
Yep.
All the Louder with Crowder episodes that they make together, they own.
Yeah.
The content before he licenses to them.
So he'll have 4 years of a back catalog that he doesn't even access
That
once he's
he
out of the
doesn't
deal.
access and he doesn't monetize off of.
Yeah.
That's kind of wild. So you're basically saying we want the masters
Yep.
to your catalog. Oh, and by the so we want the masters to your stuff. Oh, and by the way, we need to take the L together.
Yeah.
Right? Well, that doesn't make any sense. How do you take the L together if
That's what you're saying.
you should take the risk?
You're saying if you're already buying the rights to that content,
Yes.
and it gets demonetized,
Yes.
that's the risk you're taking,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. It's an interesting back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Let's keep going.
yeah.
And he has to go build it all from scratch in crisis. Ban. The Crowder content cannot be released on any of the major platforms because of his content being banned from those platforms. Then we'll reduce the fee if YouTube 20, if Apple 20, if Facebook 10, if Spotify 10. Same kind of concept. If the content simply cannot appear and therefore cannot not only be used for marketing, cannot be used to grow the brand, also can't be monetized, well, we can't pay him the same as if it was. If you're making 25% of your money on YouTube, and now YouTube is permanently gone, you can't make that money anymore. It's not punishment.
So this last timestamp is where he reveals what his phone call was with Crowder after Crowder was mad at the contract, and reveals a fact about the Mug Club.
Yeah. Yes.
Crowder,
That's important.
Crowder is taking this whole stance of, I have hundreds of thousands of people in the Mug Club. This is a disrespectful deal. You're gonna sign me. I'm gonna come over there, and all those people are gonna come, and you're gonna have a huge, massive influx of revenue.
Okay, now, before we move on to this clip, let's make sure that we didn't miss any of the particulars on the actual clip. Not here. Like I'm saying, like as I'm thinking back, like is there anything we missed about the negotiation? Basically, Crowder is a free agent.
Yep.
Crowder wants a potential deal or a home.
He's almost a free agent.
He's almost a free agent. He's about to be a free agent, or he is a free agent. Something's going on. And they present a deal to him that basically they take all ownership for the 4 to 6 years he's there at $12.5 million a year, including all of his AdSense, including all of his merch.
Yep.
And then he'll get a bonus if he wants to do a comedy special. He'll get a bonus if he wants to do a documentary. They'll produce it, and he'll get $15,000 a day to shoot extra stuff here and there. It's $12.5 million, $50 million. And his argument is, well, we have to make money too, because there's infrastructure, there's expenses, there's this, there's that. We have 250 employees, yada, yada, yada. Yet Crowder's responsible for producing his own show, which is kind of like, what infrastructure? If he's actually doing the production, you've built the infrastructure, you're just plugging people into the infrastructure.
Yeah.
You're leveraging the infrastructure of big tech. So all this stuff is already available and using. Well, that thing keeps going to sleep and it's throwing me off. And so I think that's where we are, unless I'm forgetting anything.
Yeah. So I mean that sums it up. And if you guys don't know what Ruslan means by free agency, what Steven Crowder means by free agency is that Steven Crowder was previously in deals with network companies. So
He's doing stuff with the Blazing.
the whole talk of
and,
I'm the biggest independent conservative. He's a Matt Walsh.
Yes, and he says that here. And he says that here. So let's play this last clip, and then we'll unpack it some.
Owe Steven a job, and Steven doesn't owe me a show. We opened up a conversation in good faith. We made an offer. He didn't like it. Now he's burning us. That brings me actually to what happened after. I sent this over. I did get on the phone with Steven. Normally, this is the stage where you say, I like this, I don't like that, red line, and we move closer together. Instead, Steven said, I'm not going to redline this. I'm not going to have my agent respond. This deal is garbage. You need to start completely over.
Yeah.
I said, well, I'd like to talk through why we do it. And
I'd be like, start over, except keep the 50 million number. I like that.
I mean, again, I'm going to explain why he might feel that way.
Yeah.
I'm going to explain that way because on the surface, it could look a certain way, but if we just do some basic math, it may actually make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Listened for a little bit, and he said, well, you're just wrong. You don't know anything about business. My business model is the right business model. And of course, that's unfair because Steven hasn't run this part of a business before.
Pause it. He said, my business is the right business model because it sounds like he kind of coined this membership model of screw YouTube. We're doing a segment that's off YouTube every single day. And it sounded like in this video, he said he gleaned the inspiration from Crowder.
Yep.
So Crowder's kind of right if he coined this entire daily live hour show, 30 minutes offline where I could say what I want, right? So he may have not built the business like you did, but he did kind of build the system of...
Yeah, but if you coin a thing, but then your show gets banned, you don't sign any more creators, and someone, the small guy now outgrows the big guy, and now they have some of the biggest names in conservative media.
Yep.
They're running the ship and they're running the show.
Yep.
Like, a model for who? I mean, we do Patreon. We said, let's start a podcast because we see the biggest Patreon people are podcasts.
That's right.
And so, like, it's a good method. But like, who's really running the business? Has Crowder had 200 plus employees? Has Crowder produced multiple shows, movies, all that stuff? No.
Yes.
He hasn't.
Yes.
But
does he have to in order to bring value?
No.
He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to know how to lead a team of 250 people.
So
if he's the name and he's the brand, does Jordan Peterson have 250 employees? You know what I mean?
No, exactly. So the biggest here's my, I don't think it's them against Steven Crowder. I think they pitch personalities. This is an entertainer contract. This is not a business owner contract.
Yes.
Steven Crowder leans more business owner because he's had to set up his own systems, his own methods, his own models, right? But when you pitch Jordan Peterson, he's all in because he knows I haven't built the infrastructure, I haven't done all this stuff, and I don't have the desire to. The problem where Steven Crowder might feel is that Steven Crowder's done some of that at a smaller scale, and so he might feel more entitled. And so what they would be asking him in this deal is take a back seat to more of the business stuff and become a full-on creator and entertainer. Yeah. And you don't have to worry about the business. I think he would have more free time.
Maybe.
He would probably he would probably have a lot less of a load. So in that sense, it's probably not a good deal for him.
Yeah.
And it's probably not a good deal in general if you're a creator. Yeah. To, like, when I saw Brett Cooper get signed to Daily Wire, I'm like, I mean, in a sense, she's bigger than she possibly would have ever been.
Yes.
Right? And she's doing greater than she ever would have been. Yes. But the flip side is, like, she came in with no leverage. And she got wiped.
Yeah.
I don't know what that deal looks like, but it's definitely not as generous as a Steven Crowder model. So I don't think it's like Daily Wire is not as... I do think Daily Wire is superior to Steven Crowder. Just through cultural influence, bro. You will listen. We will react to Daily Wire host videos all the time. Anytime Steven Crowder comes up, we go, that dude's a goofy.
Yeah. Let's finish this clip, and then
Steven likes...
I'll give you my thoughts on it. Cool.
Say, I'm only on the air because of Mug Club. But Steven couldn't tell me how many subscribers he had. I said, how many subscribers do you have at the place? He said, I don't know. They don't tell me.
That's an L.
And that's what I mean. That's baby business stuff. To be like, I have the best business model, and you don't even know your own how many subscribers you have to your own Mug Club.
Yeah, and I think that's his paid thing.
That's his paid thing that he started a long time ago that has now we realize has been started by the parent company. And it begs the question, how much of that does he even own?
Yeah.
How much of that 50 million would he have to cut off to Blaze for bringing Mug Club subscribers over? And so maybe there's an internal dialogue going behind the scenes where he's like, oh, I know this 50 million for me actually looks like 25 million.
Yep. Okay, let's play the rest of this.
And I'm sure that's true. He said, but I'm confident. I guarantee you it'll be 350,000 on day one with no marketing.
That's a big goal. That's a big claim.
I hope that's true. But I can't take that risk. I've never seen that to be true. I've never launched any talent with $0 spent on marketing and picked up a third of the total subscribers that the entire Daily Wire has built in 8 years in business. I hope Stephen's right. I hope he makes unseemly amounts of money and is able to continue being an important voice in the movement for years and years to come. But that's not a risk that I could take. Stephen implied that he not only didn't like this $12.5 million a year number that I offered him, but that he thought it should be closer to $30 million a year. That's $120 million over 4 years just for Stephen's show. I would still have to spend those tens of millions of dollars every year that I told you about on things like marketing and infrastructure and technology to support the show, the part that Stephen's never done. As soon as he said that, I knew we'll never get to a deal. I can't guarantee $30 million a year. I didn't know how I was going to pay for 50. I thought, not that he isn't worth it, but that's a big risk. $120 million.
Shots. He said the company's not worth it, but
Yeah, go ahead.
This is an incalculable risk for a company our size. And again, I'm not saying Stephen isn't worth it. I hope he is. I hope he builds his own business. He'll make a ton of mistakes. He'll find out that he's wrong about a lot of how the business world works. He'll learn and he'll grow because he's a smart, talented guy. And I hope he gets to a place where he's proving me wrong and he's making all that money. But that just was not a deal that the Daily Wire could possibly make.
Okay, so here's the thing, and I actually want to hear from the audience and see what they think about this. So here's the thing: we're talking about big boy numbers. Okay,
Yeah, these are
big boy numbers. Now, the question comes down to this. I think here's the disconnect. If the Daily Wire got to 1 million users in 8 years, and Crowder is the biggest conservative talking head, how many new users could he bring to Daily Wire? How many current users are already at Mug Club? I think what this breaks down to is maybe he knows approximately how many he can convert. Maybe he's overestimating. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he knows how many people are already there. Maybe he doesn't. And I think they don't got the money to afford him. Let's do the math. So a Mug Club membership, let's call it $100, right? Daily Wire's more.
Yeah.
Let's call it $100. And let's throw out a number. 200,000 people.
okay.
Okay? That's what? That's a very low percentage of conversion from his 6 million YouTube subscribers. Right?
Yeah, but that's not. No, that's. I mean, you would have to base off his Mug Club subscribers, which he doesn't even know.
Okay. So let's just say 200,000 people.
Okay. I
Okay.
mean, that's generous. He could have 200,000 in Mug Club completely.
He could. 200,000 times $100. That's $20 million. So that right there at 12.5 million, that Mug Club, right? And maybe it is more. What if it is $350,000 people?
Yeah.
Okay. 350,000
I have a
people
question.
is 35 million. So I'm just saying, when we look at the math like that, and remember, they own the merch. They own all the AdSense.
Yeah.
They own the content
It's a
they
360
make.
deal.
It's kind of a naughty deal. So I think maybe Crowder knows, hey, if I go independent and I get 150,000 people, 200,000 people, I'm already ahead.
Yeah.
Just off of Mug Club. Nothing else. No ad reads, no nothing. The thing keeps falling asleep. And so I think that's how we also got to look at it. Somebody said, no way he got 200,000 people paying. And here's it.
I 100% agree.
Well, here's the flip side to that. And maybe he's right. Maybe Hart's right. The flip side to that is, how many of those people are already Daily Wire subscribers? How many new people would he drive over there?
Yes.
Right? That would be another question. And so I think when you factor in all the other stuff and the way even this there wasn't a good faith conversation. Out the rip, from the way the agent talked about it to the way he came in with this little game he wanted to play with with the homie. You don't do this with the homie.
Yeah.
Right? I think this is not a good faith conversation. I think this is out the rip. It just kind of went left. But if Crowder really believes he could bring 350,000 people to Mug Club,
Do it yourself, fool.
that is 35 million people, $35 million, right? For 1 year.
Yeah.
Okay? So let's just
He's
say
not doing it.
let's just say he does bring 35 million. Let's just say he does the $350,000 over the six years, and let's just say it takes him 3 years to do it. Just split the difference.
Yeah.
So 3 years times 35 million. That's what is that? That's almost $100 million. That's $105 million. You see what I'm saying? So now they're walking away way ahead because you're still forgetting merch. You're still forgetting the documentary they're going to do. You're still forgetting all the AdSense that's going to come in. If maybe they do get his YouTube channel remonetized. I don't know how good their relationship is. Anyway, so I say all that to say I get it. I get it from both sides, and I understand how and why this all disconnected.
Well, here's the thing. They're not going to offer him money that they don't think they can recoup to some degree. Hopefully at least double or triple, right?
Yes. And that's what happens when you're an employee.
Yes.
Because as an employee, you are supposed to double what you bring in.
Exactly. So I don't think they're out of pocket.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Is I think if you're going to talk to being acquired by somebody, of course it's going to look like that. And especially if you're going to be acquired by somebody that actually has a name.
Yeah.
Like Blaze, he works for Blaze.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you're mad at the Daily Wire for offering you $50 million. I guarantee you Blaze is not giving you $50 million.
Yeah.
And you might be getting half of your mug club.
Yeah.
And so my thought is like, my thought is to each their own. But he's already like, if he wants to be the business owner, he can go be the business owner. He doesn't have to. But if you want to be the personality, and you want to be the entertainer and not really care about the business, that's a decent deal.
Yep.
You're just signing away everything. It's like signing a salary for $12 million a year.
Yes.
That's exactly what it is.
Yes.
I own nothing that I do here.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I have a salary.
Yep.
That's exactly what this deal is. And in his eyes, it's disrespectful because he wanted more of like we're best buds.
Yeah.
But in reality.
Now, this is what I will say. I will say that the timing of this is weird.
Air it out.
I will say that him waiting 3 months.
Oh, yeah.
And now all of a sudden having to speak about it because I can't unsee this contract you presented me.
Big Con. Get out of here.
Come on, bro. This is way too convenient as he now wants to launch his own media company.
Yep.
He's been brewing on this for 3-4 months and then decides to and this is kind of what we were talking about offline.
That was one thing that we didn't react to in the video. But Jeremy, if you guys don't, for context, Jeremy says we pitch him this thing, and then he says no. That was the end of the conversation. 4 months later, 3-4 months later, he comes back around, calls Jeremy again, and says I just can't get this out of my head. This disrespectful offer, and then makes this video. In the video where he responds, he also launches his own creative agency, gives an email for people to go
for talent
to apply. And sends people to stopbigcon.com to sign up for his, I think it's his independent mug club. When I went, it just said mug club, but it was under the guise of Stop Big Con. So he was really just like, oh, I don't like this offer. Let me go do this on my own, but I need a new enemy. If Daily Wire's messaging is get on our platforms because the left hates you and they don't want to see you on these platforms and they don't want you to speak your mind, this is where you can do it. He says, I can't jack that. They have 10, 15 hosts already saying the same exact thing. He has to come out with something different. And so he does the Spider-Man.
Yeah.
He does the...
You guys are the bad ones.
You are the bad ones.
You're the new enemy.
I'll go one level deeper.
Right.
You are in bed with big media. And then the top... His pinned comment that he put in this is, go back to this. What is your gut telling you?
That's great. Where are we at? That's
what
great.
Is your gut telling you? Out of here, Steven Crowder, bro. Come on.
That's good.
But it's marketing. So to act like Steven Crowder's like, I don't know. You know, it's just one of those things. It's marketing is marketing.
Yes.
It's business.
Yes. Yeah, man. And so here's the as we're thinking about like, oh, maybe we could build a media company with Blessed God Studios. This sort of stuff just has me completely like, F it, bro. I don't want to deal with creatives.
I never want to touch a creative contract.
I don't want to deal with these sorts of negotiations. It just seems like a complete headache in regards to this, right? Because what you have is everyone is trying to get more out of a situation, right? And so from a media standpoint, you're trying to build a media company, it just goes, I think I'm good on like trying to sign personalities down the road someday.
Yeah, let's not do that.
I don't like that model, right? I think cross-collaborating, so on and so forth, is interesting. Now, here's somebody asked, this is a great question. Somebody asked, like, as non-conservatives, what do we think? And I would probably say I lean conservative. Zach's probably a bit more conservative than I am. As a non-conservative, or like I watch some of this. I don't watch Crowder. I'm not a big fan of Crowder, right?
No, me neither.
But I do like some of the Daily Wire personalities. So as a non-conservative, here's my thoughts on this. I said this about the discernment ministry community and the Christian side of things.
Okay.
I said somebody will always out-discern the other, and there will be always someone more discerning.
Wow.
And so that is what we're seeing in real time in this conservative square. There's always going to be someone more conservative, someone more anti them than you.
I'm so anti-big media.
I'm so anti-big
the fact
media.
that they participate
Yes.
in the monetization scheme.
Yes.
I am now also anti-them.
Yes. Whereas Daily Wire is like, look, man, like, let's color within the lines for the hour we're on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then go off of YouTube and say whatever you want, or then go on Rumble and say whatever you want,
Yep.
right? So I think this is big con or conservative media doing what they always do, which is they're bad and they hate you, so therefore buy our stuff. You know, I think it's in you're in the wrong thing. It's in not screensavers. It's in
Displays?
nope. It's in energy or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so it's the same exact approach that they're always they're displaying now. It's just internal. They're dealing with it internally against each other because that is the business model. And so you need a new enemy. You need a new enemy to rile against if you can't just keep dunking on the libs in big tech. And so now they're not as conservative as I am because they want to color within the lines of the community guidelines policy, which we do.
We do that
We
all the
color
time.
within the lines. We take out specific words. We know what we can and can't get away with, and then stuff that we want to talk about. Like we're gonna have a segment today. We're gonna go offline and talk about the stuff we want to talk about that's not appropriate for the community guidelines. There's nothing wrong with that as a business model.
Yeah.
But when you're dunking on the other people, they're not really as conservative as you. They don't really hold your values. They're just as bad as
They're in
the
bed
media.
with the big
They're
media.
in bed with big tech. And so that's what I mean by like they're gonna eat each other. They're
Yeah.
gonna eat their own.
Yeah.
And so this is where this happens as a content creator. So I want to go to the next video. And so this is kind of like as a forewarning to content creators who start popping. This is what happens. And the concept is called audience capture. Okay, audience capture. This happens to a lot of influencers. It happens to a lot of Christian influencers. It happens to a lot of conservative influencers. This is the most egregious example of this that we're going to look at. But I think this is some of what happened here. I think if I were to sit down with Matt Walsh, if I were to sit down with Ben Shapiro,
Yeah.
and have an offline conversation, I bet you they'd be much more sensible than they are on camera. I think it's revved up.
Yeah, definitely.
I think Crowder revs up, right? Now, I'm not saying they don't really believe this stuff, but I think when everything is one binary, it's great marketing, but is that really who you are when no one is around? Is
Yeah.
that really who you are at Thanksgiving dinner with your liberal family members? You know what I mean? Like, probably not. And so I think that's a bigger like systemic issue within this entire ecosystem of conservatives, media, whatever. And we see it in all niches, by the way. We see it in the red pill space.
Yeah.
A lot. We see it by the red pill space. I mean, like the men's improvement, men's rights, manosphere. We see it a lot. Like, so what happens is this concept called audience capture. So I want to play this for you guys. This is the most egregious example, but I think it's actually more applicable, especially those of you guys that are starting to pop. Like those of you guys that are starting to take off, man, be careful of this because this is everywhere. But first, hold on. Before we do this, I got to make sure you guys know about our free niche training. You want to know the main reason new creators fail on YouTube? They don't know who they're creating videos for, and they don't have any purpose behind their videos. This turns the whole process of shooting videos into a tedious chore that will eventually lead to burnout. And trust me when I tell you, I have been there. If you want to discover exactly what type of videos you should make that will increase your chances of success on YouTube and help you avoid burnout, sign up below for my free Master My Niche training. This training will walk you through a custom system that will help you get clarity on the niche of your channel and help you make videos that you should be creating. I'll see you over at mastermyniche.com. All right, guys, let's jump into this clip. This is about audience capture. This is super important to creators that are starting to take off. And I actually think we see it in this specific niche of creation within the conservative space, within the Christian space, within a lot of different spaces. Go ahead and play that.
The school presentation was written and recorded by Gawinda. In 2016, 24-year-old Nicholas Perry wanted to be big online. He started uploading videos to his YouTube channel in which he pursued his passion, playing the violin, and extolled the virtues of veganism. He went largely unnoticed. A year later, he abandoned veganism, citing health concerns. Now free to eat whatever he wanted, he began uploading mukbang videos of himself consuming various dishes while talking to the...
What is mukbang?
Mukbang is when people eat large quantities of food on camera. It's similar to ASMR.
Yeah, whoa.
Do you know what ASMR is?
I know what ASMR is.
Yeah.
It's all like the noise stuff.
Yeah, where
what is the
people-
overlap?
So the overlap is like people find gratification in watching people eat. So like he's not giving he might be giving commentary, but mukbang is like an Asian term, and it started with like webcam women and men, but clothed, just eating large amounts of food and going and they'll mukbang and like lick their fingers and like eat like dumplings, like not in an essential way, just in like a ASMR way. Disgusting.
Weird.
So gross.
Weird. Okay. So I've heard of it. I just didn't know what it was. Okay. I've heard of it. I just didn't know what it was. So here's this guy. He's a vegan violin player. He's a vegan violin player who all of a sudden stops being vegan and starts making these types of videos. And this is such a sad story.
camera, as if having dinner with a friend. These new videos quickly found a sizable audience, but as the audience grew, so did their demands. The comment sections of the videos soon became filled with people challenging Perry to eat as much as he physically could. Eager to please, he began to set himself torturous eating challenges, each bigger than the last.
Ex-vegan eats burger for the first time in 10 years. That's a banging title right
That's a
there.
good title.
His audience applauded, but always demanded more. Soon, he was filming himself eating entire menus of fast food restaurants.
4 years before that video, In-N-Out Burger mukbang. He just straight up lied in the title. Vegan eats a burger for the first time, and then 4 years before that.
In one sitting. In some respects, all his eating paid off. Nikocado Avocado, as Perry is now better known, has amassed over 6 million subscribers across 6 channels on YouTube. By satisfying the escalating demands of his audience, he got his wish of blowing up and being big online. But the cost was that he blew up and became big in ways he hadn't anticipated.
Let's pause. That's a funny. That's a funny bar. He wanted to blow up online, but instead he blew up in ways he hadn't anticipated, which is he put on 200 pounds.
He is a total of 352 pounds.
This is audience capture.
Wow, that's so dark. Look at his posture and everything.
Yeah, keep going. It gets worse.
Nikocado, moulded by his audience's desires into a cartoonish extreme, is now a wholly different character from Nicholas Perry.
Pause it.
Stop. Is that him?
Yeah. He molded his persona into a cartoonish extreme. Okay? Look at that. He molded his persona into a cartoonish extreme. What happens in a lot of creators is they create cartoon caricatures of themselves. Right? So someone that's like impressionable and trying to get popping will play into the audience capture.
Wow.
And again, I'm saying we see this across all the niches. By the way, some of you guys don't know this, the guys that watch on my main channel, this is why I poke my audience. I intentionally do this. I intentionally push and poke and make it so like you're not just blindly going to follow everything I'm saying, and I'm not just going to make videos to keep you in a freaking echo chamber. I intentionally do this all the time. I'll have on people of different denominations. I'll talk about people's favorite celebrity pastors, right? I'll do these things on purpose because I refuse to slide into audience capture and just make the video that works over and over and over again. Because this is like where it can take you.
But the juxtaposition of like at one point he ate purely based off of what he felt like was best for him, and he has the audience capture was so extreme that he left that viewpoint enough to not only not just care about what he ate, but balloon up to 350, need the breathing mask. Like it's like literally it jacked one of his core values in life and completely flipped it upside down to where he could care less about that. Whew. And honestly, if you're gonna look at this, this is like a weird metaphor for how net positive content works in the algorithm as well. Like he was doing vegan, he was trying to be healthy, and no one really cared. Mind you, his videos were probably trash. But like he blooms up here, he's red in the face, his skin's horrible, he's 350 pounds, he's got a breathing mask on, all for like this lifestyle.
And Zach said something really interesting. He said net positive content in the algorithm. Consider what you're subscribing to and what you're watching, and ask yourself the question: is it just outrage porn?
Yeah.
Is it just stuff to help you feel more outraged on the out group that you're not a part of? The libs, women, non-Christians, people of other religions, right? The left, whoever. If it's just outrage porn, to me, that is not net positive content.
Well, and especially as like we're especially talking to creators on the Master YouTube Live channel is like it's going to be easy when you touch the algorithm to recreate.
Yes.
And there's times where you're going to create a not so net positive video,
right?
And it's going to be
and those are necessary sometimes.
They're necessary.
It's necessary to call out loony leftist ideology sometimes. It's important to call out false religion. It's important to call out certain things sometimes. But if all of your content is they're stupid, they're dumb, they hate you, therefore watch me and let me keep my audience in an echo chamber of just reinforcement, be weary of that. It's a great business model
because those videos are going to pop.
Those videos pop.
You'll feel like, oh, this is what people want to see from me. No, it's just what people see in general.
Yes.
But you're in charge of being creative enough to think of ideas outside of the box that are going to be net positive, but also feel like they have enough controversy for people to click in.
Yep.
And that's the juxtaposition. That's why sitting in front of a camera and talking to a computer is a little bit difficult.
Yes, absolutely. Let's keep going.
Vegan violinist who first started making videos. Where Perry was mild-mannered and health-conscious, Nick Ocado is loud, abrasive, and spectacularly grotesque. Where Perry was a picky eater, Nick Ocado devoured everything he could, including, finally, Perry himself. The rampant appetite for attention caused the person to be subsumed by the persona. We often talk of captive audiences, regarding the performer as hypnotizing the viewers. But just as often, it's the viewers hypnotizing the performer.
Wow.
That's a bar.
This disease, of which Perry is but one victim of many, is known as audience capture, and it is essential to understanding influencers in particular and the online ecosystem in general.
Yep.
Audience capture is an irresistible force in the world of influencing, because it's not just a conscious process but also an unconscious one. While it may ostensibly appear to be a simple case of influencers making a business decision to create more of the content they believe audiences want, and then being incentivized by engagement.
Thinks this twerk.
Science, math, twerk, and then what's the other one?
I can't see it.
History,
yeah.
Members to remain in this niche forever. It's actually deeper than that. It involves the gradual and unwitting replacement of a person's identity with one custom made for the audience.
Sheesh.
That art is crazy too.
Yeah.
To understand how, we must consider how people come to define themselves. A person's identity is being constantly refined, so it needs constant feedback. That feedback typically comes from other people, not so much by what they say they see as by what we think they see. We develop our personalities by imagining ourselves through others' eyes, using their borrowed gazes like mirrors to dress ourselves. Just as lacking a mirror to dress ourselves leaves us dishevelled, so lacking other people's eyes to refine our personalities leaves us uncouth. This is why those raised in isolation become feral humans, adopting the character of beasts. Put simply, in order to be someone, we need someone to be someone for. Our personalities develop as a role we perform for other people, fulfilling the expectations we think they have of us. The American sociologist Charles Cooley dubbed this phenomenon the looking glass self. Evidence for it is diverse, and includes the everyday experience of seeing ourselves through imagined eyes in social situations, otherwise known as the spotlight effect. The tendency for people to alter their behaviour when in the presence of pictures of eyes, otherwise known as the watching eye effect, and the tendency for people in virtual spaces to adopt the traits of their avatars in an attempt to fulfill expectations, otherwise known as the Proteus effect.
Look at that picture. The Hulk and the skinny dudes.
Yep.
When we lived in small, tight-knit communities, the looking glass self helped us to become the people our loved ones wanted us to be. The problem is, we no longer live solely among those we know well. We can only gauge who they are by what some of them post online. And what people post online is not indicative of who they really are. As such, the people we're increasingly becoming someone for are an abstract illusion. When influencers are analysing audience feedback, they often find that their more outlandish behaviour receives the most attention and approval, which leads them to recalibrate their personalities according to far more extreme social cues than those they'd receive in real life. In doing this, they exaggerate the more idiosyncratic facets of their personalities, becoming crude caricatures of themselves. The caricature quickly becomes the influencer's distinct brand, and all subsequent attempts by the influencer to remain on brand and fulfill audience expectations require them to act like the caricature. As the caricature becomes more familiar than the person, both to the audience and to the influencer, it comes to be regarded by both as the only honest expression of the influencer, so that any deviation from it soon looks and feels inauthentic.
Yep.
At that point, the persona has eclipsed the person, and the audience has captured the influencer.
Sheesh.
The old Greek legends tell of Narcissus, a youth so handsome he became besotted by his own reflection. Unable to look away from his image in the surface of the waters, he fell still forever, and was transformed by the gods into a flower. Similarly, as influencers glimpse their idealized online personas reflected back at them on screens, they too are in danger of becoming eternally besotted by how they appear, and in so doing, forgetting who they were or could be. This is the ultimate trapdoor in the Hall of Fame, to become a prisoner of one's own persona. The desire for recognition in an increasingly atomized world lures us to be who strangers wish us to be. And with personal development so arduous and lonely, there is ease and comfort in crowdsourcing your identity. But amid such temptations, it's worth remembering that when you become who your audience expects at the expense of who you are, the affection you receive is not intended for you but for the character you're playing.
Sheesh.
A character you'll eventually tire of. And so, be warned. Being someone often means being fake, and if you chase the approval of others, you may, in the end, lose the approval of yourself.
Alright, we don't need a Tupac quote to sum that up. Play the game, never let the game play you. Yeah, that's a good breakdown of, I think, something that a lot of creators struggle with, especially once they get a little pop. I think we see this in again, conservative spaces, discernment ministries, red pill ideology, far left content, super woke content, whatever you want to call it. It kind of becomes a echo chamber of reinforcing the same things over and over again and losing who you actually are and some of the intricacies and nuance that people have. So I think it's okay to push back against your audience, to disagree with your audience, to challenge your audience. It's a slower burn for sure, but I think it's a healthier one.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
All right, guys, you guys got any questions for us before we wrap up this stream? I don't know what happened to the chat. Can you make sure this is redirecting to the main channel?
Ba-da-ba.
Yeah, I don't know why the chat's not syncing here. It's not working.
Oh, trash.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay, cool. Guys, you guys got any questions before we wrap up in terms of this conversation? I think it's I think it's an important one. I'm laughing, but it really is sad. I mean, it is. So somebody earlier asked, like, what is my perspective on the Matt Walsh thing from the perspective of someone that's not like hardcore conservative? Mm-hmm. It's that. I think some of these guys, Steven Crowder, they're all the same to me. Same avatar. Steven Crowder. I think most of it is outrage stuff. And it's a great way to sell razors and plots of land in Scotland, and other stuff. But I think I don't think it's always net positive content.
Oh yeah, I mean it's fairly rare to be net positive content.
Yeah, I think there's certain videos Ben Shapiro will make that's net positive. I think his video on Andrew Tate was a very net positive video about manhood and stuff like that. I think, what is a woman documentary? I think that's a net positive for society.
Yeah.
So yeah. So what's the total figure for the 4-year contract? 50 million. It's 50 plus 20. It's 50 and then 25 for 2 more years. So that's the Gary. That's the figure.
So basically, it's yeah.
Anything else before we get out of here? Do you guys got any questions for us about this topic? Anything we need to clarify? I thought that was very good. I think, it's interesting, man. It's interesting when you see Christian creators do it. You see Christian creators slide into this. Our tendency here, the temptation here, just so you guys know, is to make the celebrity pastor's bad video over and over. It's either that or like find something really outlandish from like libs of TikTok and like dunk on that.
Yeah.
That's the temptation for us, that we always go, okay, we got to find a different angle. We got to figure out a different way to articulate this. And so we intentionally don't make a ton of celebrity pastor videos.
Yes.
We try to limit those. We have good ones written, but we just don't. And so that would be the way to get the most amount of views, but in my opinion, the least healthy way. And so, so hopefully this is helpful, especially for young creators, man. I think this is a very necessary conversation that I don't think we have enough in this space.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts before we wrap?
That's it.
That's it. Guys, smash that like button on this video. And again, if you have not taken our niche training, be sure to do that. You want to know the main reason new creators fail on YouTube? They don't know who they're creating videos for, and they don't have any purpose behind their videos. This turns the whole process of shooting videos into a tedious chore that will eventually lead to burnout. And trust me when I tell you, I have been there. If you want to discover exactly what type of videos you should make that will increase your chances of success on YouTube and help you avoid burnout, sign up below for my free Master My Niche training. This training will walk you through a custom system that will help you get clarity on the niche of your channel and help you make videos that you should be creating. I'll see you over at mastermyniche.com.
Kingstream Entertainment. Ruslan.